All right, let's do this, guys. Welcome to Lisbon, and welcome to this free tour, Sandemans tour. My name is Eva, and I'm gonna be your guide for today. We're gonna stay together like 2 hours and a half. Feel free to ask me anything that comes up to your mind. I'm just gonna briefly introduce you to this concept, born in Berlin. The founder, big traveler, he started to travel a lot. He wanted to know more about the places he was visiting, but he always found really boring guides who gives you dates and names, and then you go home, you don't remember anything, and you paid. He went back home. He started with this new concept of the free tour, and he got so much success that now he's everywhere in Europe. So, saying this, I work as a freelancer, means that the company doesn't pay me, but what happens at the end of this tour, you're gonna be the judges, and you're gonna reward me or not, depending if I've done my job properly or not. So it's all in your hands, big responsibility. Just briefly, I moved here 5 months ago. You can say it's a short time to know the city. Not really, because I'm constantly exploring, and because I came here already for work a lot of times, and I'm totally in love. The fact that I'm here today in front of you means that I took the right decision. Now I'm just gonna ask you your names and where you're from, and then we're gonna talk about the whole history of Portugal in like 2 hours. Can we do that? All right. She is amazing, by the way. What happened? The first population coming here was the Phoenicians, big travelers, big navigators. And why they came here? Because it's an amazing position for the trades. Lisbon, it's a natural port on the River Tejo, which leads straight to the Atlantic Ocean. You can easily go up north, you can easily go down south, right? They gave to the city the first real name. The city was called Olisipo. This term is so cool and probably funny to your ears that now it's also vintage. So it's used for restaurants, hotels, travel agency, anything you can really think about. Olisipo. What happened after? They weren't the only to think that this place was amazing to live in, and so the Celts came. The Celts mixed with the local populations, and the local population, Celts plus Iberian, Celtiberians. A tribe of these Celtiberians were the Lusitans. I'm sure you've heard about the word Lusitania, which basically refers to the old Portugal. Okay, because the territory in the past was really different, so it extended to Extremadura in Spain. So the Lusitans, they were led by this big guy. Who basically fought against the Romans. So we have the Visigoths, we have the Romans, 218 AC. They stayed here for 200 years. What happens after the Visigoths arrived? So this is a beautiful area for any population, for their trades and for the territory and for the temperature. Visigoths, at one point, two tribes of the Visigoths, they got into a fight. Okay, civil war. One of the kings, what he thought? He thought about calling some friends to help him kick out this other tribe. You know who he called? He called the friends Moorish. Really bad idea, because then the Moorish arrive here, they looked around and they see how beautiful and useful this place is. And what happens? They conquer the entire Iberian Peninsula. The Arab domination began in the 700 and ended 500 years later. So, saying that after the Arab, 1127, Afonso Henriques, the first king, is a king, not a queen, of course. He basically decided that the Arab needed to go away. The Reconquista started, and 800 years of monarchy as well started. 35 kings and 42 queens. Just 2 out of 42 queens actually ruled. Mary I and Mary II. I'm not gonna bore you with all these kings' names just because they all had the same name basically. So Pedro, Afonso, Manuel, all the same names. And these actually are the most common names in local names. So if you go around and ask a Portuguese, what's your name? He will answer you for sure, Felipe, Enrique or Afonso. Not really a lot of Nunos, but I will talk about Nuno later. Just one last thing before we move to our next stop. I have to ask you to look up there. Now we can see his back, but we're gonna turn around and have a look to his face later. That guy there is Luís de Camões. It's the one of the biggest writer of Portugal. He is the writer of the discoveries. So we're talking about the 15th century, and he basically was spending his time talking about philosophy, drinking wine, I guess, eating grapes, and loving women. What he did, he went a bit too far. So one day he started to flirt with the king's daughter, and the king didn't like it at all. So what he did, he told him, tomorrow you're gonna be on the first ship to China, and he sent him to China on a ship. But he never stopped writing, and once in China he basically accomplished to finish his big masterpiece, Os Lusíadas. Once in China, what he did, he wanted to come back, of course, to his hometown and just share his amazing book. But it took him something like 15 years to come back from there by ship, walking with his book under his arm, because he had no money at all, but he made it. And today we have his amazing homework. So we are now, if you don't have any question, we're now gonna move to our next stop.